Hey, welcome to another episode of the Ripple Effect podcast. I almost forgot the name of my show. I have done so few solo episodes. I've been so committed to my other shows that I almost forgot the name of my original show, which is, my friends, the Ripple Effect podcast. How are you guys doing? I am phenomenal. It has been a month. Let me tell you, it has been just a great experience. I've had several speaking gigs that have all gone great. I got amazing feedback. I'm floating on cloud nine. I don't know if you can tell that. If you're only listening, you can't see me. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, on the internets, hey, yeah, that's why I look like I do. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I am also flying high because we've had a couple of great deals and opportunities that came through for a couple of things, right? I'm about to launch something significant to my Ripple community that I can't wait to talk about. If you're not on our newsletter, oh my gosh, you got to go to ripplecentral.com/subscribe. Get on that bad boy because you're going to not only get regular communications from WA and my team, but you're going to know about all the great things that we got going on, all the activities that you are available to come to or asked to come to. Many of them don't cost anything. Some really good stuff coming. We actually are about to launch a community first approach where something that you can get involved in, start to get a little bit more engaged on an ongoing basis for the Ripple, which I think is going to be phenomenal. But we're also going to dive into a couple of key areas that are really near and dear to my heart. One, helping people that are in, some sort of career transition or potentially thinking about making a position change. We're going to have a community dedicated to just that. People that either find themselves out of work unexpectedly and needing help, support, and resources, and those that are maybe, hey, I want to do something different with my career. I want to go somewhere else with my career. I want to do something different, and I need some help, guidance, resources, and we're hoping to do that with this new, very unique approach to what we're developing for our Ripplers out there. So you got to be on the list in order to get notified when these things launch. The second thing that we're doing is Women Optimizing Women. It's a women's focused group for Ripplers. It is going to be led by some of my handpicked Ripplers that are, of course, women that believe in what we're doing, the approach that we're taking. But there are certain things that women need to talk about with other women. They need to have those support mechanisms in place. They need people that are going to open doors. They're going to understand some of the challenges, the trials, and the tribulations that only women would know. And I am super excited to create this as a offshoot of our community for those women that are looking to support other women. You come with an open mind, you come with what you've got to bring to the community, but then you also got to be willing to, take some and be willing to learn some and contribute and build those connections. And so we're super excited about that as well. So, yeah, speaking's going well. Have had, a lot of work and effort going into these new community first efforts. We've got the relaunch of what we have been, calling up to this point the Ripple membership, but it's actually going to be our Ripple Connect and Grow program. I've got some great things planned for that in the upcoming months. I can't wait for that to launch. There's just all sorts of stuff happening around Ripple headquarters. Of course, I have to stop and give a quick shout out to my good friend and my chief collaborator, which is Cynthia Berg. She's actually our community manager for all things Ripple. She's doing a tremendous job keeping me on task, telling me where I need to put my energy and my attention, and helping me stay focused to make sure that what I'm doing is going to deliver maximum results. All the efforts that we've put into the website and our social media and all these things that we're putting out, including the podcast and the YouTube videos, is all geared around trying to bring this concept of rippling to a much larger audience. So my ask to you would be, not only sign up for our newsletter so that you're a part of that and you get notified when we've got these special events coming up, but also if you know people that will benefit from our energy and our enthusiasm, need to build better, more authentic connections in their lives, whether those are personal or professional, get them on with us. Get them subscribed. Get them to tune in to the YouTube or to the podcast, and get them involved in rippling, because I promise you, we are going to be bringing some great stuff to the table for not only you, but for those people that you bring into the community as well, because that is my commitment. That's my obligation. We want to create ripples that build off of other ripples that build off other ripples. And so for today's podcast, it's going to be a short one. I'll admit that, because I've got some great interviews coming up. And so I don't want to burn you out. I want to make sure that you are, still tuning in, excited about everybody that I'm putting in front of you. But man, we've had some great guests this year. We've had some really great conversations. I just finished recording a conversation with someone that I never in a million years thought I could get on the podcast, but she was so gracious and so amazing. And it actually made me think about a comment that got made when I was speaking at an event recently. I had to go to this happy hour ahead of the event, and somebody said, I've been tuning into your podcast and you have all these great people. How do you come across these people? And I said, quite frankly, some of them I knew, some of them I've been fans of for a while, and some of them I thought were super unattainable, wouldn't be interested in my little show, but were gracious enough to do it anyway. And the person that asked me that question said that she just thought it was so amazing that I seemed to have such, rapport with my guests, I guess is how she phrased it, which made me feel great, because honestly, I don't feel like I'm the best interviewer. I'm naturally curious. I'm really good at asking a question and trying to dig inside of that question and get people to share a little bit about themselves and their story, which I guess maybe would help me, sort of qualify as a decent interviewer, but I've never considered myself a good one. But she said she just really got hooked on every one of the guests. And she said, I just can't wait to go back and listen to more episodes. And I felt that was really kind. It was I really appreciated it, because it was something that, when you do these things and nobody says anything, or you don't get any reviews, or, you don't see anybody sharing it, you're like, is this thing on? Anybody paying attention? And so for her to actually acknowledge that, and hopefully she'll hear this, and I want to say thank you to, who you are. I want to say thank you for tuning in and listening, but it really meant the world to me to know that somebody was actually really impressed and appreciative of what I was doing and the people that I was trying to bring to the table to have a conversation. And she asked me, how do I get these people? And it really made me think about, the big things in life that we are all often faced with, whether we want that next job, we want that promotion, we want to get that raise, we want to, ask that person out on a date, we want to, have something significant happen, but it requires the involvement of somebody else. How many of those times we just get right up to the edge, but we won't go over? We almost open up that conversation, but we don't quite go there. We don't have the confidence and the courage to do it. I am a victim of that. I have always been, quite honestly, introverted and shy. So reaching out to someone famous, or someone that's very well known, or just someone that's just kicking ass in a particular industry or vertical, or even in my local market, when I don't look at myself on the same level as that person, I can remember when I first started this podcast, never in a million years would I have thought I would do that. I never would have gotten outside of my comfort zone to reach out and say, hey, I've got this little show. It's called the Ripple Effect Podcast. I know you're super famous. I know you're super busy and you're amazing, and you probably wouldn't want to come on to my show, but hey, would you like to come on to my show? Yeah, I did try that a couple times, and swing and a miss, right? It did not work. But then I got confident about it, because everybody has a story. Everybody has something that they'd like to share. And everybody understands the ripple concept. Everybody knows that they have been impacted by the ripple effect in some capacity. Maybe don't think about it in that regard, but really as we get into these conversations, it becomes a real natural evolution of that conversation for them to start to consider all of the things that fell into place that help them be successful in business, or to gain some notoriety, or become a national news personality, or a well-known speaker, or maybe a star of a major motion picture. I don't know. Haven't got one of those yet, but I'm going to. I promise you. I'm still stalking Ryan Reynolds. That's just going to say. He's going to be on this podcast one day. We're going to talk soccer, if nothing else. But the reality is, none of those great conversations would happen unless I actually got over my own challenges, my own hangups and trepidations, and just go for the ask. And I guess today's episode really needs to center around that core concept of what you're not asking for in your life, what you're not stepping up to the plate to take the swing. I got a quote. My wife bought me this really great little sign for my game room at home. And it says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And it's absolutely right. I think Wayne Gretzky gets credited with it, but I think it's actually an old quote from, somebody much older than Wayne, I think. And it's accurate. Whoever said it gets kudos and credit from me. Cheers, drink, coffee. Here we go. For them to take that, to really bring that phrase to the surface for us so that we can really understand. You don't get what you don't ask for. You don't get the opportunities that you don't try for. You don't make things happen until you make them happen. I was giving a speech, same speech actually, to this audience. And I said, nothing happens in life until you make them happen. If we sit there and we wait for things to just unfold or to happen on behalf of us or for us, we'll be vastly disappointed. If I waited for people to, just drop out of the sky and say, Steve, I want to be in your book, or I want to be in your podcast, or, I want to be in your world, probably wouldn't happen. Not at the regularity that I need it to happen. It would probably not be nearly as interesting. And quite honestly, I'd spend a lot of time alone. You have to figure out how to go for the things that you want to go for. So this guest that I interviewed today, someone that I have been a big fan of because she was a great journalist, and she is someone that does a really amazing job interviewing. I really respected and admired her. But when I reached out to her, she didn't know me. She wasn't following me on Instagram. She didn't know even who Steve Harper was, let alone the podcast. But then when I started to record today and she said, hey, I've been listening to your podcast. It's really good. What? Oh my God. I didn't send it to her. I just asked her to be on the show. Figured she'd say no. But again, that was the story in my head at the time. I'm just grateful that I took the step forward to ask and didn't let the story win. And that meant the world to me, right? Just like that person at that conference a couple of weeks ago saying how much they enjoy the podcast and what they thought of my ability to interview people and how it really brought new people to her life. That meant the world to me, because at the end of the day, it's kind of both ends of the spectrum. Here's someone that, I didn't know was listening to my podcast. Here's somebody famous now that is listening to my podcast. And it means that I am doing what I should be doing. And it would never have happened had I just sat on my hands. If I had, worried about the logistics, or worried about, having somebody else try and book, the guests, or, really just being afraid to tell my own truth, my own story, my own take on the power of the ripple. This has all come full circle for me. And so when I ask you as our audience to think about what's holding you back right now, what you're not asking for, what you're not going for, who you're not talking to, what relationships you're not starting, what connections you're not trying to make because you don't think that you are smart enough, or you have enough value, or that they would have the time or the interest in talking to you, or that job is unattainable, that degree plan is not going to be, in your future. All of those things are set up to be barriers. Those barriers are there to create the story and the narrative that means that you aren't nearly as good or as important as you would like to think you are. And it's all hogwash. It's all BS. You are absolutely that plus a box of chips. You are capable of so much. And when I think about just how many great conversations I've gotten to have, how many deeper, more meaningful conversations I've had, some of the friendships that I've developed with some of my guests, and some of the people that now have become fans, uber fans of what I do with the Ripple, never would have happened if I allowed myself to stay stuck. So you have to go for it. You have to take whatever it is that you want. You have to take that leap of faith. You may not know everything there is to know to make sure it's a success. You may not know exactly what's going to come out of your mouth before you pick up the phone and have that conversation, or you make that request, or you say, hey, boss, let's sit down. I need to talk. But the reality is you will feel like $1,000,000 when you take a chance and you bet on yourself and you do it anyway. Maybe some will pay off and more will pay off than you expect, I promise you, but some won't, and that's okay. Don't retreat back into the turtle shell. Don't allow one or two things that don't go your way to discourage you. Make sure that you stay on your path. Make sure you're committed. And when you have that crisis of confidence and you feel like you are all alone, think of this episode. Think of me. And know that 100% of the time I have struggled with this too, and yet I have persevered, I have pushed through, and I've made it happen. And if you don't see any way to get through that, steve@ripplecentral.com. Shoot me an email. We'll jump on a call, and I will help you find that path forward. I know it can be scary. I know it can be difficult, and I know sometimes it can feel like the odds are stacked against you in whatever it might be, but they are not always something you can't overcome. Won't promise you 1,000% success rate, but I promise you one thing is for sure. You have a 0% chance rate, 0% chance of success. Success rate, 0% chance of success rate when you don't take your shot, when you don't take the opportunity to move forward and to continue forward. So I'm just riding high right now. Got so many things that are going on. I know we're hitting at the right time. I'm super excited about what the future holds. But most importantly, I'm just grateful that you tune in, you watch, you pay attention to what we're doing, and that you are slightly inspired to go out there and create a positive ripple out there in the world. But when you create the positive ripple out there in the world, make sure you're creating a couple for yourself as well. Take that flyer, take that, bet, take that chance on yourself. And I promise you, it will be worth it. You're looking or you're hearing from the guy who's proof of that. So anyway, we'll be back again very soon with another episode of the Ripple Effect podcast. New guests, some really exciting guests coming up. I can't wait. And I'm just so grateful that you're tuning in and paying attention. So do me a favor. Last time, ripplecentral.com/subscribe. That should drop you right into our subscriber page. That should get you on the list so that you'll be updated for all the great things that we've got coming out. And there are a lot of things coming out. And I would encourage you to help us spread the message. Help us get other people engaged. And here's the pitch. This is all you have to say. Can you benefit from knowing better people in your world? Making a difference and connecting with people that you would really like to bring into your personal and professional network? Well, I got a podcast for you. I got a website, ripplecentral.com. I've got a guy. I got a book, Ripple Effect, Maximizing the Power of Relationships for Your Life and Business. I got a guy that you need to follow on social, @RippleOn, on Twitter and Instagram. I got a thing. I got the stone. I'm casting it. Now, watch what the ripples do for them and watch what happens. All right. Help us create that positive impact that we're looking for and create some really positive ripples that change the world. That's what my goal is. I'm not going backwards. I'm going forwards. Come with me. All right. Until next time, my friends, ripple on.